the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
And the Supreme Court echo a setana nina a case Alexander Kwame na afenyomaken edikoko PMO Supreme Court for interpretation about seats. Urban Semana Nsem-Bagbin edina ni tumi so etimi declare ni vacant eno enam so ma majority leader so edikoko PMO Supreme Court na Supreme Court akwa setana ena one share say one one ruling ebetumi aba na ena ruling no eba no na 7-member panel judges no otena so no emu 5 say asem na Kwame na Alexander afenyomaken edeba beda won no eto asum papa into one agiatum sanso ena emu 2 enso say one ene afenyomaken enya adwuma na said enya no majority carries the vote ntimi no ka say the Supreme Court etimi a ruling say Urban Semana Nsem-Bagbin ruling na oman or Parliament House no they say unconstitutional enti on overturning that decision no na eno ena me no ka say the afa the Urban Semana Nsem-Bagbin ehu say baby a asem no adu no only choice rather than to respect the Supreme Court ruling na afi watimi ama etio akwa de twene na asomdwe aba me no ka say the Urban Semana Nsem-Bagbin etimi agiatum ti akase yebebie parliament na afi waba abegina ho na watimi ede atodwa say Supreme Court ede ruling aba efri na ekoi NDC amanyuko no mu ena moye minority NPP amanyuko no ena ye still majority na afi de eno ano na yenko hwe de ekoso e court no nso bi.
Well, I think the court has spoken in very clear and emphatic terms, and of course it must be the only thing anybody has to do is to respect the constitution. That's the mark of a civilized democratic order. It leaves no room for any argument whatsoever, and the majority decision, very big majority, clear majority, 5-2. It's not as if it was a narrow majority, 3-4 or 4-3, that anyone can say, well, there's some room for kind of review or anything at all. But the point I'm making is that whenever the court speaks, it's such a clear and emphatic order. Even if it's a very narrow majority, that's the decision of the court, and that decision must be respected. And I'm saying that it results in a degeneration of our society and a destruction of our democratic order for anybody at all to refuse to comply with orders of the Supreme Court. And I think that's non-negotiable. It's something that we must all respect. I've heard some statements by certain political actors to the effect that the case ought to be withdrawn and that there ought to be negotiation and all that. I'm quite surprised because indeed, firstly, I did not hear such expression of willingness to negotiate and all, or maybe such instruction to the speaker or direct suggestion to the speaker for negotiation and all when the speaker started embarking on this act. And I think that for me it's very important that the Supreme Court ruled upon this matter because it is something that had been occurring in this country. A tendency for it to occur really was there. A tendency for it to occur again was there. It was necessary that the Supreme Court came to this clear conclusion and determination of the matter. The meaning of Article 97, Clause 1, paragraphs G and H. And I think we must all respect it.
What do you expect to happen in Parliament? Parliament is currently on break. What do you expect to happen with the Speaker of Parliament in particular also?
I think the Speaker of Parliament himself, to start with, indicated in his address to the press last week that the case raised very serious legal issues. Those were serious legal issues and matters bordering on governance of the country. And first, so I must express my utter shock at this refusal to even file a process. If indeed the Speaker of Parliament himself recognized that the matter raised serious legal issues, as he said to the media last week, where else would you address legal issues but in the court of law? Where else would you have such a definitive pronouncement on the so-called serious legal issue that the Speaker himself recognized in his press statement, done by the Supreme Court of Ghana? So as for the Speaker of Parliament, indeed, is law-abiding. I've known him for a very long time to comply with the decision of the Supreme Court. As I said, it is non-negotiable in every civilized society. When an order of the court is given, no matter how highly placed or lowly placed the court is, even if it's a magistrate's court, you have to obey until it is set aside.
Speaking of knowing him,
what does it relate to this? The American Constitution itself, very thin, as we all know. Yet, the Supreme Court, that Constitution has survived over 200 years. I think that, of course, there are certain provisions in the Constitution that I think that ought to be amended, and I've expressed my views on it to the media. Article 78, Clause 1, which enjoins the President to appoint majority of his ministers from Parliament, ought to be amended. There ought to be that flexibility. I think that certain institutions, for example, the Electoral Commission, NCC, and what have you, the appointment of their heads has to be with the prior approval of Parliament. But another thing that it calls for a complete overhaul of the Constitution. And indeed, this Constitution is very strong. And it is one Constitution which even goes as far as prescribing consequences of a failure to carry out the Supreme Court order. So the Supreme Court order, the consequences are set out clearly in Article 2, Clauses 3, 4, and 5 of the Constitution, that any person to whom an order of the Supreme Court is directed shall duly carry out same. And a failure to carry out such an order, of course, has the consequences of a criminal punishment. In the case of the president, will even result in the president and vice president will result in removal from office.
And finally, do you expect the Speaker of Parliament to recall Parliament on his own volition after this ruling, given that the court has spoken in such a wide manner?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as I said, it's an emphatic determination by the court on the matter, and the Speaker of Parliament has no option but to comply. I mean, I think that we must stop giving with one hand and taking with the other. As I said, it really amounts to double standards and an exercise in contradiction for the Speaker of Parliament in his address to the media say that the case raises such serious legal issues and matters body on governance and all that, and then refuse to take back. So this country refuse to take part in the proceedings. I think in this country we must recognize some people for who they are and what they do. This hypocrisy and double standards must cease. The Supreme Court is the final arbiter on all matters in the country, including an interpretation of the Constitution. Indeed, it's the only court solely seized with discretion to pronounce on the meaning of relevant provisions of the Constitution. And the Constitution means what the Supreme Court says it means, and nothing more. It is the same in America, and as I said, America, United Kingdom, and all advanced democracies, that is the order that they respect. There's no way a Supreme Court would give a decision in America or United Kingdom, and then the Prime Minister, apart from expressing his disagreement with the decision, or the President of America, of course he has a freedom of expression to express his disagreement with the decision, but he has no option but to comply, and they usually comply, and that is it.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. We'll get pretty shortly to the leadership of the majority in the House who are here. We'll get to the majority leader shortly. So we'll get to the majority leadership shortly. Take the microphone. So the court has, by a 5-2 majority, affirmed the reliefs that were being sought by the majority leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin in his action before the court. We should remind you that the panel is CJ Tokono, Mariam Owusu, Avril Lovelace Johnson, Kwame Asiedu Adibu, Amadou Tanko, Yao Dakun Asare, and another. And so 2 persons dissenting in the presence of Avril Lovelace Johnson and Justice Amadou Tanko by way of jurisdiction. And then the 5 other judges who have been hearing these interlocutory matters have ruled that the majority leader's action in court must succeed. We will hear from him pretty shortly as the Attorney General himself wraps up his interview with the media, as we get to hear finally from the leadership of the NPP persons who are also in court. Let's get back to listening to the Attorney General.
And I did not raise any issue with that back to appeal. I did not say I'm not going to respect the decision of the court. I respect the decision of the court, and until the decision is set aside by the higher court, which is the Supreme Court, that decision will remain binding on all. So we must stop this hypocrisy and exercises in contradiction. As I said, that when our reaction or attitude to court rulings depends on how palatable we deem it. We cannot react to decisions based on how palatable we deem it, and that's exactly what is happening.
Thank you very much, Attorney General. We'll hear from the majority leader also, who is just descending to finally get to hear from him in terms of how this entire case has traveled so far. The majority leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin about to give us a word. Majority leader, the court 5-2 affirming all the reliefs that you are seeking. Your initial reaction to this?
So my friend from Channel, I want to know your position today. No, I'm just asking you. I want to know your position today.
You accept that he's not.
No, I just want us to have clarity for the purposes of education. What is your position now? I want to know. What has the court said? That what? No, yes, we are educating ourselves. You know, I want that we are educating ourselves. We are not fighting. We are educating ourselves. So I want to know from you. No. We need to get him to the. So what is it? I want to know. That's what. That is so. I mean, I just wanted clarity on this matter. We can only thank God, and also it's a moment for all of us to rally around the choice we made in 1992, democracy. Democracy requires decency, and that is the path the MPP majority caucus took to ensure that we do right to the law. Nothing more, except to say that we expect our colleagues on the other side, including Mr. Speaker, to respect the outcome of this case so that we move on as a nation. All we have is the peace of the country. All we have is our democracy. And in West Africa and in Africa as a whole, Ghana shines in the eyes of the people in terms of democracy. So this is another feat we have achieved, and we must celebrate it. It's not a matter of MPP against NDC. It's a matter of constitutional, interpretation, and the court has given its verdict. We should all respect it and move on. Thank you very much. I think on the.
Do you expect the Speaker to recall Parliament on its own volition, given this emphatic?
Let the lawyers deal with the issues of law. I think that all we want is peace in the country, and we chose peace. And today we've achieved peace. That is all we say.
The Speaker has no choice. He has to abide by the ruling of the Supreme Court. He has no choice. He has no choice. Absolutely no choice.
What's the way forward?
The way forward is for him.
Please.
The Supreme Court is spoken.
The interesting thing about today's matter is that as far back as 1968, after the first Republican Constitution, we decided as a nation, which can be seen by the proposals of the Constituent Assembly, that two things will happen. The first thing that we decided was that we will have the judiciary interpret the Constitution. In fact, they said two things. They wanted the judiciary to be the ultimate arbiter of what the Constitution says, and they also wanted the judiciary to be able to give advisory opinions. The people of Ghana rejected the second suggestion and said that the judiciary should not give advisory opinions, but the judiciary is the body that should interpret the Constitution. The second thing that is important in that entire the 1968 proposals was that they decided that Parliament would not be supreme. The supremacy of Parliament was not accepted. What they decided was that Parliament will be under the Constitution, and so all our constitutions since then have followed this position. In fact, the 1992 Constitution in Article 1 says that sovereignty lies in the people. That sovereignty was expressed when the people, through a referendum, voted to bring this constitution into force. And the constitution tells us that the supreme law of Ghana is the constitution. Everybody else is under the constitution. Nobody is above anybody. Everybody has his role. And so the fact that the Supreme Court interprets the constitution does not mean that they are above anybody. In fact, there are judges sitting on the bench. One of them is my classmate. My juniors are on the bench. But once they go and sit there, even if it's my own child sitting there, I cannot but bow and give the person respect, not for the person, but for the office and for the law. And we expect every other Ghanaian to also respect the law. We don't all agree on what is said and what is done. There are several times that I've disagreed with what is said and what is done. But because of the respect for the rule of law, because of the respect for the Constitution, we just keep quiet and follow the law, hoping that if we don't agree, another opportunity will come that we'll be able to express ourselves. So what has happened today, we have not seen the reasons. We are happy because we came to court because we believed that the right thing was that the people had not by their action vacated their seats. So what has happened to them, we are happy about it. Tomorrow, the reasons will come out. And when the reasons come out as lawyers, then we can look at the reasons and what the court has said, and then we can discuss it. In fact, the fact that the court has ruled in your favor does not mean that you agree with the reasons. You might decide that even the reasons some of the judges gave, you do not agree with it. 2 of the judges talked about jurisdiction. We don't know what they said, so tomorrow we will know. And when we know, we will prepare to answer more questions in detail. But as was said by the leader, as far as I'm concerned, today democracy has won, constitutionalism has won.
And Bagbin has lost.
Nobody has lost. Democracy has won, constitutionalism has won, and nobody has lost. Every one of us is holding every position that we hold in trust for the people of Ghana. We don't hold it in our own capacity. When you are an MP, when you are a minister, when you are a president, when you are a speaker, when you are a chief justice, you hold it in trust for the people of Ghana, and you are under the law. Your time will come and you leave the position, and that is what we must all write. So the 4 MPs have been reinstated. They must come to Parliament, and as far as I'm concerned, if the status quo ante is brought back, then this whole dispute that people call him caucus leader, whatever, it should stop from today. We have a majority, which is NPP, and the majority leader is Honorable Alexander Afeyo-Marke.
Thank you. A lot of reactions that are coming in, and we will try and see if we can talk to a few more MPs who are here as to how this ruling has gone. Farouk Mama, I mean, this has been a torturous journey. You in the NPP have insisted that the Speaker of Parliament's actions were unlawful. Live on Joy News, what do you make of how the Supreme Court has ruled?
I think today has been a significant day for us, and the judgment speaks for itself. I think 2 judges had issues with the judicial and other people. So today is a day for democracy, and it states that whatever we are doing as Ghanaians, we should respect the law. The Constitution of Ghana, 1992 Constitution, is the biggest, and we must respect it. No winner, no loser, and today democracy has been reinstated, and we expect the Speaker to act as such. Elefante, that we the same bow, we shall win to save Ghana. We have won to save Ghana. We have won to save Ghana. The Elephantes have winning symbol. We have won to save Ghana.
Democracy is won. The dictatorship is lost.
Why do you say that Bagbin has lost when this was really a constitutional matter? He has come in.
Tendencies he was beginning to exhibit. It's been nipped in the bud by this August House, the Supreme Court. My young child will say, I'm sorry. No, my very good friend, my brother.
Okay.
But he was behaving very badly and unconstitutionally.
Right, so some photos will be taken, but the big news coming in from the Supreme Court, the judgment has just been handed down live here. You've watched proceedings. By a 5-2 majority decision, the Supreme Court has decided that the declaration of 4 seats as vacant was unconstitutional. The 7-member panel presided over by Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono, Mariam Owusu, Avril Lovelace Johnson, Kwame Asiedu-Edibu, Amadou Tanko, Avril Lovelace Johnson, and Jao Dakun Asare. They came to the conclusion by majority decision that these persons really ought to return to Parliament, and they do not believe that the Speaker of Parliament acted in a way that affirms the Constitution. And so there are 2 members of the panel who dissented, that is Avril Lovelace Johnson and Justice Amadou Tanko, who ruled that given the way matters went, given how matters went, they disagree with the fundamental conclusions of the court, and so 5-2 they have actually dissented on that, and we'll get more reaction from the Supreme Court. KTM in particular has some strong words about the Speaker of Parliament, who he says has acted in a way that has dictatorial tendency. We'll get to him. Why are you saying that the Speaker of Parliament has acted with dictatorial tendency?
I mean, the Speaker of Parliament is supposed to be the custodian, of the Constitution. Constitution. This man decides that he would not respect the Constitution. Not only that, he would not respect the apex court of the land. It's outlandish.
What has he done?
I haven't seen
That is
anything like
disrespectful of the court.
in my life. And I heard this argument. He respects the supremacy of the Constitution, but he doesn't respect the supremacy of the Supreme Court. What does it mean?
So what do you expect should happen now?
So that is what somebody said. What do I have against Babi? My very good friend. Everybody accepts. I mean, he's a class prefect. You all know that. But the point is that I do not agree that a person of his caliber would not respect the ruling of the Supreme Court. Now it has been very crystally put by the Supreme Court. The motion filed by our majority leader of the House has succeeded. The Speaker Bagbin has absolutely no choice now to comply. Tell Ato and his followers to move